House to Home, presented by RE/MAX Diamond Realty.
It's Tuesday, everybody, half a day, so that means it's time for House to Home, and we are joined, of course, by Liz Duenas, one of my dear friends from RE/MAX Diamond Realty Guam, and we have a very familiar face in the Zoom room right now, another one of my friends, Ben Servino, who I have not seen in some time. Uncle Ben, half a day, congratulations on your retirement, and good to see you.
Half a day, Jason, and half a day, Liz. Thanks for inviting me.
Hey, you're my personal expert in the arena of disability. So we've been wanting you to for so long. However, either you're off island or you're unavailable. So we're so happy to have you here with us today.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Yeah, so Ben, maybe what are some, to set this up, what are some common misconceptions or misunderstandings that maybe landlords or property managers have when it comes to, the particular types of arrangements that come, with real estate deals?
Okay, let me start off first, because I always share this information with everybody. Landlords need to be very sensitive about terminologies. And I just try to encourage them to try not to use the word handicap and use proper terminology such as person with a disability when referring to the individual with the disability. And when they're talking about tangible man-made items like the parking space and tables or the bathrooms, use the term accessible, okay? Mm-hmm. Accessible bathroom, accessible ramp.
You've taught me that for many years, Ben, too, because you said you are a person first and foremost that just happens to have a disability. Yeah.
And then the disability second. So, landlords really need to take the time to educate themselves about the ADA law and also the Fair Housing Act. Those two laws sort of complement each other, augment each other. The ADA focuses mainly on state and local government services, private sector businesses like the malls and stores, and transportation issues. So, there are like 5 titles in the ADA, but that doesn't apply necessarily to real estate, and landlords, unless, again, it involves the common use areas like their office or the parking space outside their office. Those are for the public, the general public. But again, landlords need to be sensitive to the needs of people with disabilities and educate themselves about the laws. They also need to understand that there are reasonable accommodations requests that people may have if they move into a unit, and those accommodation requests can be considered as long as they're not an undue hardship or burden to the landlord and they fundamentally change the operations. And that's a one-to-one discussion between the landlord and the tenant, okay? They need to discuss this so that it relates to their disability. Yes,
so
question?
If I'm, let's say I'm a landlord and I've got a tenant, I've accepted this tenant. It's a single person because it's only a 1-bedroom. And of course, it's on the first floor. Mm-hmm. And let's say the tenant requested to have, because they're in a wheelchair, they've requested to have a ramp put in to access the unit because there's a few steps up. And if they needed a ramp, that's considered a reasonable request. Now, the question would be, is the landlord obligated to put it in?
Again, it goes back to that undue hardship. It's not a financial burden to the landlord, and it's easy to do. It's not going to take very long. The needs of the individual, again, focuses, it's a variety, because again, the law says it can be a physical disability or mental disability, okay? So they need to focus on the individual's needs. A lot of places, I've gone around the island, and on the doorsteps, they have ramps, and you can't really have a ramp on a door because, the incline, gravity pushes the wheelchair back. For you to open the door, it'd be very difficult. It usually needs a five-foot circular landing so they can be able to turn around that landing. Ramps can go up to that landing. It has to have a slope of 1 to 12, so it's not too steep. So these are simple things that can be done, but I highly recommend that you get a landlord gets a contractor that's familiar with the ADA, okay, and have experience making these renovations, okay?
Because more so than ever, and Liz talks about this a lot, how you need to build, facilities like a staircase or a stairwell or like a hallway according to a particular spec. When it comes to ADA, I mean, they're very, very specific about how these fixtures are to be constructed.
Yes, and it's very important because you start with the parking lot, the parking space, and that's the access route to the entrance of the unit, okay, or the establishment. So you got to make sure. I've seen places where you have an accessible parking space and there's curbs that block the access. You can't get into the facility or the entrance of the building because there's this curb and it blocks it. So you got to make sure that there are curb cuts, okay, so that people don't have to encounter these barriers. Sure. I always tell, yes, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, we don't have that much time left, but I have one final question I'd like to pose, if I may. I know Sure. There are a lot of older buildings on Guam, I've been around some buildings erected in the 70s and 80s that probably are not ADA compliant. What should landlords think about proactively retrofitting their buildings, so the parking lot is ADA compliant and the ramps are built, and so they don't have to wait until a tenant or a guest is basically making the request. They should do this, proactively.
Yeah, I really recommend that landlords and every business start looking at again making universal design available, because there's the baby boomers. We're all going to be senior citizens sooner or later, right? We're going to need to have accessibility provisions. And landlords need to establish again documentation and the process of how they're going to change their policies. For example, if they have a no pet policy and an individual has a service animal, they need to modify that policy and ensure that the individual is able to allow their service animal to be in the dwelling, because they're not
talking about that a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, they're not a pet. They provide a task. They assist the individual with the disability in overcoming some of the challenges they have to encounter.
Sure. Well, we got to run, guys. But Ben and Liz, real quick, where can people go to find out more information about this? Because certainly this is just a tip of the
I recommend that they go on the website, ada.gov, www.ada.gov, and also the website, hud.gov. HUD has all the guidelines for the accessible designs and the features for accessibility in dwellings.
Thank you, Ben. Liz, final word, please.
Well, I wanted to thank Benny. Benny's an old friend, and I've always considered him the expert in this arena. But Benny, thank you. And it's a great way to inform the landlords that there are requirements when dealing with disabilities. And the website you provided is great, so that they can go on the site. I myself go on the site just to make sure we're on the right track.
And locally, there are resources here locally. GSAT at the university, the Guam System for Assistive Technology, they have a lot of resources, especially for independent living needs and technology, the adaptations. Okay, the equipment.
That's a great one. All right, guys. So thank you so much for your insight, Ben, Liz. Always a pleasure, and thank you out there for watching. We'll see you next time.
All right, bye.